Welcome, future doctors of India. Today, we will start the cardiovascular series of Sri Chhatrapati Academy by the Study Ayush Forum, by the student for the student. So, let us start the cardiovascular system. So, as I told you in the short, that India is prone to many diseases regarding to the heart, regarding the vessels, the block in the vessels. So, it leads to the hypertension, diabetes mellitus, and many other diseases like CAD and all. So, if you want to cure that diseases, you have to learn the physiology of that system very well. Then only you will understand the pathology, and then only you can give medicine to treat that disease. So for that, the base should be clear. Then and then only you can understand the further problems. Okay. So as we are starting the human cardiovascular system, it includes heart, the main organ of our body, which supplies the blood to over all organs. Okay. Then the blood vessels come under this. There are so many blood vessels. It is said that if we remove the blood vessels from our body, it can make the one big football court. It is said like that. So that much branch network is present in our body of blood vessels, that are arteries, veins, and capillaries, right? There are many anastomosis also present, where two veins meet, two arteries meet, etc. and etc. So anatomically we will study that in the anatomy chapter, but today as the part of physiology we will learn its how it functions. So today's lecture will be basics, what we have learned till now, and what are the extra some points that we will cover in this lecture. So our human heart is present in our body, slightly tilted towards the left, located in the mediastinum of the left lung, right? Our heart contains two chambers, for upper side, that is two arteries, and two chambers from the lower side called as true ventricles. So our heart is four chambered heart. Mammals have four chambered heart. We have learnt it in animal kingdom in our preceding classes, right? So there are four chambers. There are septas present between them, which separates, right? Ventricles flow the blood from heart to the body, and from body towards again to the ventricle. There is a cycle which is called as systemic circulation. There is another pulmonary circulation. That overall we will study here in a overview what is present in our cardiovascular system. So let us start. Yes, cardiovascular system, a general overview. The cardiovascular system is a closed system, very important point, closed system. We have learned that many other animals which comes under molluscans, that are octopus and many other cockroaches also, they have the open circulatory system. Means there are no blood vessels present in their body. The tissues directly bath into the bloodstream. Okay, but our human body is a closed system. We have the blood vessels in which the blood flows. We have the different clotting mechanism. Okay, closed system through which the blood continuously flow to supply the critical nutrients. Critical means important nutrients and oxygen to the peripheral tissues, right? While efficiently removing the metabolic waste products and carbon dioxide. We have learned that there are many waste products present in the tissues like sweat, sebum, oil glands. Oil gland also has some oil waste material, right? So it removes it and it gives nutrients to the cells, and then while taking that nutrients, oxygen, cell metabolize, make glucose and give out carbon dioxide. We have learned the respiration system, respiratory processes, ETS, Krebs cycle, all comes under that one cell, and cell gives out carbon dioxide, right? So that carbon dioxide is taken by the bloodstream. in the cardiovascular system and given out by lungs. So to purify our, detox and purify our human body. It is fundamentally composed of two integrated structural entities, the heart, the main mechanical pump. The metaphor given to the heart is the mechanical pump, and the metaphor given to the blood vessel distribution and capacitance network. Now capacitor, why it is given the metaphor like of that capacitor? What is the definition of capacitor, or what is the definition of capacitance? It is a device which stores the energy. So this is also, they have told that it is a device, or it is a device present in the human body which stores the blood, which takes the blood and stores and gives to tissues whenever they needed. So they are given the network of capacitance to the blood vessels. Now gross anatomy, little bit we will study. The heart is a central muscular organ situated within the mediastinum, which is present in the left lung, between the two lungs. It is comprises of 4 chambers, which is to a superior receiving chambers called as atria, and to inferior pumping chambers called as ventricles, right? The musculature of ventricle is significantly thicker than that of atria, as the force of contraction is directly proportional to the myocardial thickness required to overcome systemic resistance. Now this is a systemic resistance. As we all know that our human body and the cardiovascular system present between the human body works on the principle of pressure gradient. So the blood flows from higher pressure level to the lower pressure level, right? So there is some resistance present over the blood vessels. Think there is a 10 mm of Hg blood pressure present over there, and if you want to pump the blood, now the ventricular pressure is 20 mm of Hg. So 20 mm of Hg and this 10 mm of Hg, so that minus 20 minus 10, 10 mm of Hg, so that 10 mm of Hg is the systemic resistance offered by the blood vessels. So with 10 mm of Hg this pressure, the blood will flow into the blood vessels. So that the pressure present in the systemic artery or systemic aorta is called as systemic resistance, right? Yes. Right side of the heart, that is now we will study the right side of the heart. And one more is that the musculature of ventricle is directly proportional, significantly thicker than that of atria, as the force of contraction is directly proportional to myocardial thickness. It is a very easy statement, you can correlate with that. If you have thicker muscles, biceps and all in the gym, you will be able to lift more weight. You will do the more work, you will get the more energy. So that principle also operates here. Therefore ventricles want to pump the blood to whole body, so their muscles is thicker than that of atria. Okay, now let us study one side of the human heart. Now the right side of the human heart, that is pulmonary circuit flow. Now the chambers consist of right atrium and right ventricle. See, right atria and right ventricle, you can see over here. Okay, right atrium, a thin walled low pressure receiving chamber that collects venous deoxygenated blood from the body via 2 large systemic veins. So that veins are superior vena cava, returns venous blood draining from head, neck and upper part of the body. Inferior vena cava returns venous blood from the trunk, abdomen and lower extremities, means lower our legs and all. And in this right side of the atria, the right atria, there is an intrinsic pacemaker present, which is called as SA node, that is sinoatrial node, right? The atrium houses the sinoatrial node, which spontaneously generates electrical impulse to dictate heart rate. So as we know that human heart is myogenic, So the electrical impulse starts from SA node. SA node initiates the electrical impulse, then it gives to AV node, then bundle of his, then to all the ventricles. So in that way, the electrical activity of the heart initiates. That we will learn in further properties of cardiac muscles. We will learn in our next lecture. Okay. And the atrioventricular AV node, which coordinates the sequential chamber conduction. AV node starts, then it gives to SA node starts, and then it gives to AV node. So from SA node to AV node, SA node gives and AV node receives. So it is also, AV node is also called as pace setter. Is called as pace setter. Right ventricle receives venous blood from the right atrium through the tricuspid valve. There are 3 cups present, so it is called as tricuspid valve. Remember, like right here R is present, there also R is present, so right ventricle has tricuspid valve. It possesses a thick muscular valve to pump this deoxygenated blood forward into the pulmonary artery across the pulmonary valve, leading directly to the lungs for the gaseous exchange. Now left side of the heart, let us study, consists of left atria and left ventricle. So easy. Now left atrium, a thin walled chamber that receives the oxygenated arterial blood returning from the lungs via the pulmonary veins. This is an exception. There are 2 exceptions present in CVS system, that where artery, we have usually know artery, A for artery, so away from the heart. So while taking away from the heart, it takes oxygenated blood. But the pulmonary artery is only one artery which takes the deoxygenated blood. And pulmonary vein usually takes deoxygenated blood. But pulmonary vein is only vein present in our CVS system which takes the oxygenated blood to the left atrium. This is a unique anatomical exception. Left ventricle receives oxygenated blood from the left atrium via the mitral valve. Mitral valve. Left ventricle has mitral valve, which is also called as bicuspid valve. It has 2 cups present over there. Okay. The valve of left ventricle is exceptionally thicker, significantly more so that right ventricle so that from the left ventricle, because it must generate the massive pressure to push the blood through the systemic aorta. As we know that systemic resistance is more because it want to flow the blood in the whole body, okay, to the whole systemic circulation. Now the septas of the heart. Septas present means the differentiation between the walls of the heart chambers. The chambers are split cleanly by thick structural wall to prevent mixing of deoxygenated and oxygenated blood. So what is the purpose? To prevent the mixture of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Now interarterial septum, there is a presence of interarterial system between right and left atria, which separates the right and left atria. Now interventricular septum separates the right and left ventricles. The upper region is membranous while the lower portion is thick and muscular. Means they have to say that interarterial septum is membranous septum and the interventricular septum is a muscular septum. There is also presence of interarterioventricular septum between atria and ventricle of the respective sides, which is right and left. Okay. Now the histological layers of the heart. The wall of heart consists of 3 distinct tissue from outer to inner, which is pericardium, first one, then comes myocardium, and then comes endocardium. So the further the pericardium, the outermost protective sac around the heart is divided into structural layers. The pericardium is the outermost protective sac. Further, the pericardium is divided into outer parietal and inner visceral pericardium. Okay. Now, the outer parietal also has 2 layers, outer fibrous layer and inner serous layer. Function of outer parietal pericardium is encourage heart with mediastinum and to prevent the overstretching. Whenever there is a pumping action of the heart, it prevents the overstretching of the heart and anchors the heart. It holds the heart in the mediastinum space, right? And there are 2 layers composed of outer fibrous layer, which is a dense connective tissue, within the tunica adventitia. Tunica adventitia is nothing but the outermost layer of the blood vessel, right, which is tunica externa, and an inner serous layer lined with simple squamous mesothelium. Okay, now the next from the pericardium, outer pericardium, now inner pericardium. It is a smooth outer surface of the myocardium made up of flattened epithelial cells. Okay, their support, if we have studied that wherever there is a gaseous exchange, there is a presence of squamous epithelial cells, right? Now the pericardial space, the narrow potential space between the parietal, means the outer, and the visceral layer. It contains of a thin film of serous fluid, which fluid is like the range of the fluid is 25 to 35 ml. Okay, that act as a lubricant to eliminate the friction continuous during the continuous contraction and relaxation cycles. So whenever there is a work, there is a whenever there is a work, there is a means contact of the two surfaces. Okay, so when there is a work contact between two surfaces, and when they comes close to each other and they do work, the friction force is generated, and if that force increases, it can damage the tissues. So to prevent that damage, there is a presence of synovial fluid, serous fluid, to avoid that friction. That fluid is smooth, so it makes that surface from rough to smooth, hence avoid the friction or to reduce the friction. Okay, see, this is pericardium layer, okay, myocardium layer, and this is the endocardium layer. There is a valve of the heart, tricuspid valve, see 3 cups are present, bicuspid mitral valve, 2 cups are present. It is pulmonary valve and aortic valve. Now myocardium, the middle layer representing the bulk. See, here we can see bulk. Why they have said bulk? This is myocardium. Bulk of the heart wall, composed entirely by specialized cardiac muscle fibers responsible for pumping action. Myocytes are involuntary, myocytes are the cells of the heart which are involuntary, which is not under our control. Striated, there is a presence of striations. For easy understanding, you can tell it's surkutya. Okay, so there is a presence of some striations over there, lining, and exhibit 3 unique physiological classifications. See, now the 3 unique classification. Muscle fibers which form the contractile unit. Okay, striated muscle fiber containing sarcolemma. Sarcolemma means you are to consider it as plasma membrane of the muscle tissue, a central nucleus and a myofibrils embedded in sarcoplasm. Sarcoplasm means nothing but the cytoplasm of the cell, muscle cell. They contain sarcomere, which is structure and functional unit of the contraction we have learnt, which contains the actin, myosin, troponin and tropomyosin protein, and expansive sarcotubular system, which we will learn the physiology of muscle in our next lecture. Okay, that Huxley and Andrew Huxley theory. Intercalated disc, the double membrane structure situated at a junction between the branch cardiac muscle. They form adhering junctions and which make them electrically syncytium. Means if the one cell is contracting, whole heart musculature should be contracted. It's not like that some portion should contract and some portion should remain relaxed, which also follows all or none law. Means one has to contract and all has to contract, and if nobody contracts, nobody will contract. It is not like that one will contract and others will not contract. All will do the teamwork. Syncytium. Muscle fibers which form pacemaker. Myocardium. Modified specialized muscle fibers, less striated. See, remember that the cells which forms the SA node is less striated, containing P cells that spontaneously generate electrical cardiac impulses. Generation of electrical cardiac impulse. Example of that cells are SA node. Muscle fiber which form conductive system, to which it is initiate the electrical activity, it transports the electrical activity. Specialized muscle fiber modified for rapid propagation of electrical impulses from SA node across the arteria and onwards to the ventricles. Now the endocardium. Endocardium is the innermost layer, a thin, smooth, glistening membrane composed of single layer of endothelial cells. It forms the continuous lining over the internal surface of the chambers and the heart valves, ensuring low friction fluid dynamics. Fluid present, our blood is a fluid, which is the thing which can flow. So it also has properties, fluid property. Friction is also the property of fluid. Fluid can also exhibit friction. So to reduce that friction, that this endocardium is responsible. Now valvular anatomy of the heart, let us study. The heart contains 4 dedicated valves designed to permit unidirectional flow and strictly prevent backflow, regurgitation. Now what is regurgitation? If you remember, at the top I have made one note. See, margin note means that note analysis. The user means I have noted at regurgitation. What is meant by regurgitation is पुढे जाऊन मागे येणे. Means the thing is, if the blood is flown from one valve and that valve closed, so the backflow of the blood is avoided. If the blood flows back, whole system will be damaged. No blood will be supplied to the other organs. Okay, so to prevent that blood flow, this valve are present, and that word is called as regurgitation. So now arterioventricular valves, AV valves. There are 2 types of AV valves which are called as tricuspid valve and bicuspid or mitral valve, located between the arteries and ventricles. Their margins attach to the fibrous anteroventricular ring, and their free cups are anchored to the ventricular papillary muscles. There are muscles present over in the heart. See here, these are the valves, and these are there, it is attached like this, and these are attached to the papillary muscles of ventricles. And that structure, papillary muscle structure, let us see, papillary muscles via tendinous strings. So they are attached to that papillary muscles of ventricular through that tendinous strings, which are called as chordae tendineae. The strings prevent the prolapsing during the heart during the high pressure ventricular systole. If in the case there is high pressure ventricular systole and pressure increases, so its chance is there that if the pressure is increased, there is leak everywhere. See it bottle, if I increase the pressure, if I increase the pressure to one extent, this cap will be opened, right? So as that mechanical principle also applies to the heart. If the pressure increases during the systole, that isometric systole is there, and this systole is a closed systole that we will learn further. So if this systole, the pressure between this systole increases, there is a chance of overflowing of the that opening of the AV valve and flowing of the blood backward. So to prevent that prolapsing, this chordae tendineae are present. Okay, 2 types of valve, tricuspid and bicuspid valve. Now semilunar valve, located at the outflow junction of large systemic and pulmonary arteries. So at this same principle, when the blood flows from ventricles to the respective blood vessel, that is systemic and pulmonary artery, they contains the 3 half moon shaped pocket flaps that open smooth during ventricular ejection and snap shut as blood attempts to backflow. Right? If the blood attempts to backflow from that vessel, it shuts. So it is very important anatomical entity present in our body. Pulmonary valve is there and aortic valve is there, right? It is present at the opening of the pulmonary artery from the right ventricle and positions at opening of systemic aorta from left ventricle. Now cardiovascular actions. The physiological action and fundamental functional mechanics of cardiac muscular are categorized into 5 fundamental parameters. First one is chronotropic action. which is nothing but, the definition is nothing but it's directly compared with the heart rate that pertains to the absolute frequency of the heart rate. If there is a positive chronotropic action, there will be tachycardia. If there is a negative chronotropic action, there will be bradycardia, that is decrease in heart rate. Inotropic action pertains to the mechanical force of muscular contraction, that by how much flow the muscle is contracting. If there is a positive inotropic action, there is an increase in contractile force. If there is a negative inotropic action, there is a decrease in contractility force. Now, dromotropic action pertains to the velocity of electrical impulse conduction through the heart. Now, from yes and no, it is related to the conductive system of the heart. If there is a positive dromotropy action, there will be increase in the conduction velocity. If there is a negative dromotropy action, there is a decrease in the conductive velocity. It is only terminologies, understand it. Bathymotropic action pertains the excitability of cardiac muscles to the cells to the stimuli. Excitability. What is meaning of excitability? The ability to respond to the external stimulus is called as excitability. Positive is increase in electrical excitability and negative is a decrease in electrical excitability. Now it is lucitropic. Lucidotropic action pertains to the rate of myocardial relaxation during the cardiac diastole. That by how much rate the our heart that by how much rate there is a myocardial relaxation during the cardiac diastole. Diastole means relaxation period. Positive lucidotropic action, faster cardiac relaxation. Negative lucidotropic action, slower and impaired relaxation. Now, histology of the blood vessels. The systemic blood vessels vary significantly in diameter, wall thickness and cellular composition to facilitate high pressure transport, precise distribution or exchange of metabolic system. There are mainly three layers: tunica adventitia, which is also called as tunica externa. Tunica media is also tunica media, and later one is tunica interna. And there is a presence of a lumen, means the space for the blood flow. Now, vein has larger lumen and artery has small lumen, which you can clearly distinguish between the artery and vein. Now see, this is the diameter and elastic tissue, smooth tissue and fibrous tissue, present or not, less or more is present. All I have done in under the one table. Aorta has biggest diameter and wall thickness 2. See. Now structure, layer of blood vessels, arteries versus veins. Arteries and veins are classically constructed of three core connective histological cords. I have told you, tunica adventitia, that is externa, tunica media and tunica interna. Externa is the outer coat, tunica is the middle coat, intima is the internal coat. It is made up of thick fibrous connective tissue, circular smooth muscle fibers and elastic tissues, and composed of smooth endothelium and internal by elastic lamina. Now microcirculation, anastomosis and clinical some aspects we will see. Now what is the capillaries? Capillaries lack smooth muscles or elastic tissues completely, consisting of simple endothelial monolayer. Why capillaries lack this elastic tissue? Because their diapedesis action comes. There is an exchange of substances in the presence of capillaries. So if the elastic tissue is present, then there will be difficulty for exchange of that substance. And then why elasticity is needed for the blood vessels like arteries and veins? So the reason is elasticity increases the distensibility of the blood vessels. So if we stretch it during some circumstances, there will be more blood flow. So to overcome that blood flow and do not cause any injury to our body, they have the property of elasticity. Okay. Now what is meant by distensibility? We will say that I have told in the previous, I think so, pulse rate chapter. So distensibility is when we stretch a rubber band, again it comes to its original state, is called as distensibility. They form extensive network linking arterial system directly to the venular loops, acting as exclusive anatomical sites for tissue, blood tissue, gas and nutrient exchange, which are capillaries. Anatomical definitions: end artery or functional terminal artery. An artery that delivers oxygenated blood exclusively to a specific organ or region, without forming a collateral networks with adjacent vessels. Example is splenic artery, renal artery. Obstruction leads to directly tissue ischemia or local infraction. Now, what is meant by collateral networks? Collateral system, blood system is nothing but whenever there is a blockage or something in the specific artery, there is another comeback mechanism to overcome that blood clot, and from another way the blood will reach to that specific organ. But there are some regions in our body, they are called as N-terminal artery, that there is no collateral network, they have no comeback or there have no overcoming system for that. So they are called as end artery, and if the obstruction comes to this artery, then there will be ischemia. That is a pathological condition. Whenever there is incomplete flow of the blood to a specific region, it turns blackish and some bluish color. Okay, and local infraction. Now, anastomosis, a natural structural connection or shunt between two tubular structure, providing an alternative pathway or a blood flow. Anastomosis means there is a presence of a shunt, there is a attachment of two arteries, or there is attachment of two veins, different veins, for a proper circulation. It is an anatomical adaptation of our human body. A collateral circulation, an alternate routine pattern of blood flow through a secondary network of tiny redundant blood vessels that dynamically enlarge when a primary major branch becomes pathologically occluded. It is first only present in our body, but it is present in reductant form. But it becomes major whenever the major primary branch becomes pathologically occluded. Pathologically, they are saying. Physiologically also it can become occluded, but it can overcome that physiology. Clinical complications, arteriosclerosis is there, which I have seen that thickening and lost elasticity of arterial walls. Arteriosclerosis is a specific type of arteriosclerosis driven by focal cholesterol plaque deposition, hypertension BP, capillary permeability fluctuation, that the excess permeability shifts directly to the tissue edema. If there is more and more exchange between the capillaries and the tissue, so there will be a deposition of water, fluid or anything which causes edema over our body. That is capillary permeability fluctuation. Thrombosis or embolism. Thrombus is a stationary intravascular clot. Thrombus is a stable clot which is not movable clot, but embolism is a movable clot which travels down to the circulatory system until it obstructs a narrower downstream vessel. Okay, which causes infarct, that your stroke, brain stroke, etc., etc. Renal also, it will affect to the kidneys, etc. Aneurysm. Aneurysm are abnormal, pathological, dangerous focal dilation of ballooning outward of the blood vessel wall, carrying a critical risk of spontaneous rupture and fatal hemorrhage. Dilation of the blood vessel is nothing but that. Now, mechanical division of circulation. Blood travels through human body across two completely integrated circulatory loops, which I have told you, that is, first one is pulmonary circulation and another is systemic circulation. Now, pulmonary circulation flow chart, see, right ventricle, pulmonary artery, lungs, alveolar capillaries and for oxygenation, again to the pulmonary veins and to the left atrium. Now, systemic circulation, see, left ventricle, aorta, systemic arteries, arterioles, systemic capillaries, venules, veins, vena cava, and to the right atrium again. This is a cycle. See, this is a pulmonary circulation diagram, superior vena cava. This is a systemic circulation diagram. See, anatomical systemic circulation, alternative title, difference I have given. So, systemic circulation is also called greater circulation because it has to supply the blood to the whole body, and this is only between the lungs and heart. Chamber or origin is from left ventricle and origin is from right ventricle. Primary flow pathway through systemic arterial tree out the bodily tissues. Okay, through pulmonary artery directly to the lungs. Chamber of return. Venous blood returns via vena cava to right atrium, and oxygenated blood return via pulmonary veins to left atrium, which I told you that is the anatomical exception. So, It was all about the overview of cardiovascular system. In a further lecture, we will learn about the properties of the cardiac muscles. So till that, keep studying, ask doubts and go for practice. Thank you.